All right, the mayor's called the meeting to order. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calandrillo,
Here.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Here.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Here.
Okay, we have 4 ayes and 1 absent, which means a quorum is present for this regular meeting of the Garfield City Council, which is being held today, which is Tuesday, July the 9th, 2019. This regular meeting is being held in accordance with provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice has been provided by mail, facsimile, and email to the official city newspapers and to other interested parties, and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin boards in City Hall. If everyone would please rise, we'd like to begin with the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a short prayer. Heavenly Father, we ask that you look down with favor on the city of Garfield, on its public officials, and on its people. Please continue to bless the city of Garfield as you have in the past and guide us to a wonderful future. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, at this time, if there is a motion to approve the reports of the Cabinet as presented orally and in writing during the work session held earlier this evening, that would be entertained at this time.
So moved.
Okay,
I'll second it.
motion by Councilmember Aaron Delaney, seconded by Councilmember Calandrillo. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calandrillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso. Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. The motion carries. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, all the resolutions listed on the agenda have 4 signatures on them, which are the signatures of all the council members present. If there's no objection, I will take 1 roll call vote on those resolutions, and then we have a couple of resolutions after that.
Yes.
Okay, hold on a sec. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calandrillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Yes.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. We have a resolution, which is an amendment to policy for claimant certification. It is signed by all the council members present. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calandrillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. We need the resolution for a special meeting. Want me to say it real quick? Want me to do it real quick? Oh, we're gonna need signatures.
Somebody did, right?
Hold on. Okay, sure, got you.
It's the regular meeting.
It's August 13th, right?
Yeah. Glad you couldn't stay in the room.
Okay.
That's what we want to start this meeting. Mayor, if I may ask, why are we switching the meeting? Okay,
Usually we were just having one meeting in August, so we're gonna have our regular meeting on August 13th. The CFO said that he has some bills to take care of, and he wants to keep the A+ bond rating. So he had some bills to take care of. So he has to get them done by the 13th, I assume.
But you also said on the 27th too, we're having. a
Yeah,
meeting.
we're also having the meeting on the 27th as well,
So we're having two meetings in
August.
August. No, that's okay.
Okay, the resolution reads as follows. Resolved by the City Council of the City of Garfield, Bergen County, New Jersey, that a work session of the City Council be held Tuesday, August 13th, 2019, at 6 p.m. in the conference room in City Hall, and a regular meeting of the City Council be held Tuesday, August 13th, 2019, at 8 p.m. in the Council Chamber in City Hall. The resolution is signed by Council members Rigoloso, Joseph Delaney, and Aaron Delaney. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calandrillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Fact is, when we first made up the schedule, we wanted to have one meeting in July, one meeting in August. That's what we usually do in the summer, but since we're having our meeting today, July 9th, our next meeting wasn't scheduled until August 27th, which is a tremendous amount of time, I believe. So I believe having a meeting on August 13th will definitely suffice the city. I vote aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. The resolution is adopted. That concludes resolutions. Proceed with bills and claims, Mr. Mayor. Resolved by the City Council of the City of Garfield that the following bills, number 2184 to 2185, covering trust other and community policing trust fund totaling $2,337.50, and the current fund reserve totaling $8,393.12, and the current fund totaling $3,382,331.09, and the water fund totaling $7,133.00, and the water fund totaling $383,968.82, and the general capital fund totaling $115,117.84, and the water capital fund totaling $7,071.00 per attached computer list be ordered paid, and the proper officers are hereby authorized to issue checks for same, provided that there are funds in the appropriate appropriation, respective appropriations. Be it further resolved that the action of the mayor, city clerk, and city treasurer in issuing checks and payment on the ratification list, which includes 23 items prior to the meeting, be ratified. Bills and claims resolution is signed by all the council members present. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calandrillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. Bills and claims are approved. Proceed with ordinances, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
Okay. The following ordinance was introduced at a meeting held on June 25th, 2019. It was duly published. Copies were posted on the bulletin boards in City Hall. Copies were made available to the general public, and having complied with the law, this ordinance was not read in full, and the city council can now proceed with the public hearing and final passage. An ordinance of the City of Garfield creating a new Chapter 239 of the Garfield City Code to be entitled Plastic Bag and Straw Regulations. Need a public hearing.
Yeah. On this ordinance and this ordinance only, would anybody like to come up and speak?
Before we do that, we submitted an amendment to that ordinance to you today. We had comments back from Wawa, and we reviewed them, and we changed the
Definition of straw.
for straw to allow for plant-based or non-plastic-based straws, which was something that
So,
they wanted to do. So I would suggest we just introduce the new one tonight, and then we can adopt it at the next
that's what you recommend, okay.
proper date.
There are sufficient signatures on the other ordinance, which I assume they were going to act upon tonight. So,
So
Well-
why are we going to introduce this one?
what was advertised to be published? I mean, whatever the recommendation is to proceed.
Well, the ordinance doesn't.
Can
take
you make an
effect until-
amendment to
Was
that?
there an amendment to it? 'Cause
Well,
of the
there's-
straws?
The
There's a
ordinance-
second ordinance.
the ordinance wouldn't take effect anyway until January 1st.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna give time for the places to comply, to get it together.
So let's table this one and go to the,
Well, should this be defeated then?
I just would vote to have it removed for discussion.
so let's have it removed and then, we have,
Well,
we have
if-
another
if
hearing on
there's
the
an-
13th anyway.
You can defeat it, however you wanna do it, defeat it and then
Defeat it and
The
then
other one.
reintroduce?
Yeah, and then do the other ordinance.
Want to reintroduce the other ordinance today?
Sure, we'll do it right now. I mean, right after we
Alright.
take action on this.
So let's defeat this one.
We did advertise a public hearing. Should we at least?
We still gotta have a public hearing.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
it should be.
So on this ordinance and this ordinance only, would anybody like to come up and speak before we defeat it? I see no hands. Sure.
Okay, on second reading, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calandrillo,
No.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney,
No.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
No.
Mayor Rigoloso. Okay, we have 4 nays, 1 absent. This ordinance is defeated. Now we have a new ordinance to be introduced. It's an ordinance of the City of Garfield creating a new Chapter 239 of the Garfield City Code to be entitled Plastic Bag and Straw Regulations. It is introduced by council members Aaron Delaney, Joseph Delaney, and Rigoloso. On the roll call on first reading, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calandrillo.
Yes, before I vote, I just want to read a comment. I'm going to support this ordinance. However, I feel the penalty of $2,000 fine, jail time, or community service are too stringent, since this is not even state law. I'm sorry, Joe?
Oh, I was just saying to the
I
city
believe
manager
it's
that
up
that's
to
standard state.
2,000.
I'm sorry?
I believe it's up to 2,000,
Up to
so
2,000.
it
I
wouldn't
do-
necessarily be automatically 2,000.
But until it becomes state law, I do realize this is a global problem, and that we have to start somewhere, and I'm hopeful that the state will join us in passing a law soon. However, we should not be selectful in what green initiatives we vote for, and I would have appreciated the support of Councilwoman Delaney, who was a member of our green team, when I requested that the city put up a resolution in opposition of the Meadowlands Power Plant located in North Bergen, which, if built, would potentially be the largest greenhouse gas polluter in New Jersey. She abstained on the vote, and this is a power plant that will affect air quality and will contribute to the Bergen County's failing grade for ozone, which has been given an F rating by the American Lung Association. Not to mention the mayor, deputy mayor, councilwoman, who recently voted in favor of selling our parkland to private developers for residential and commercial development. Again, we cannot be hypocrites. I am voting aye on that resolution.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney.
Yes, with all due respect, I'm not going to use my microphone this evening as a political stage, but I will explain my reasoning for abstaining on the North Bergen Power Plant resolution is because I also work for a nonprofit agency that serves Hudson County, and I work with North Bergen officials on a recently received grant. So I felt it was personally a conflict of interest, and I consulted with our Labor Council before voting that evening, and he also advised me to abstain from that resolution. Personally, my stance is different, but I did what I felt was the right thing to do. With that being said, on this ordinance, this was introduced at the last meeting. The only thing being changed, which was some feedback from Wawa, and they asked us to include in the definition of straw, and I just wanted to give this synopsis for the audience, that straw does not include a straw made from non-plastic materials, including paper, pasta, sugarcane, wood, hay, bamboo, plant-based material, etc. So that's the only thing that's different. Again, I thank everyone for their support on this, as I think it will be for the betterment of our community, state, and society as a whole. With that being said, I vote aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Did we sell any parkland?
Do we sell any parkland?
Yeah.
Not that I know.
Oh, okay, I vote aye. I was just wondering.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. This ordinance passes on introduction. Also on introduction, we have an ordinance to amend and revise Chapter 146 of the City Code of the City of Garfield entitled Flood Damage Prevention. The ordinance is introduced by all the council members present. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calandrillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Arundellini,
I vote aye. Just for the audience, again, this is something that's being mandated by the state that all municipalities are being asked to adopt. I vote aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. That ordinance passes on first reading. Also on introduction, bond ordinance to authorize the acquisition of a new pumper fire engine, including original apparatus and equipment in, by, and for the city of Garfield in the county of Bergen, state of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $925,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. This ordinance is introduced by all the council members present. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calandrillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Arundellini,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Yeah, this is a fire truck that they're replacing a 20-year-old fire truck with. I think they're the last firehouse to get a new fire truck, so I vote aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. This ordinance passes on introduction. Also on introduction, an ordinance to amend Chapter 201-20 of the City Code of the City of Garfield entitled Receptacles for Litter, and Chapter 201-21 of the City Code of the City of Garfield entitled Enforcement Officials. This ordinance is introduced by all the council members present. On the roll call, on first reading, Councilmember Aloya, Councilmember Calandrillo,
Aye.
Councilmember Arundellini,
Yes, I just want to give credit to Deputy Mayor Delaney for pushing forward this ordinance. It's definitely something that's needed for the quality of life with our residents and kind of goes hand in hand with some of the trash receptacle initiatives that we've been working on. With that being said, I vote aye.
Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Yesterday, we had a quality of life meeting with department heads from the city, and it's just an extra step that I took to have a quality of life meeting. I'm not required to do it. I just want to do it because I feel there's a need for it. As there is a need for the green team. And when another council member comes up here and uses those extra incentives that certain council members do as derogatory and negative, I think that's a real shame. You know, I didn't have to call for a quality of life meeting, but I called for it, as does the green team, called for certain issues that's affecting our city and our state right now. Right now, I called a quality of life meeting because of speeding. We had a fatal accident 2 weeks ago, and we really didn't speak about it. I felt it was important, as a city official, to call department heads and talk about things such as speeding, things such as receptacles put out in front of storefronts, which this ordinance is, which means a store such as CVS now is supposed to have a receptacle outside their entranceway. I've seen too many businesses that has garbage overflowing, not cleaned up, and I think we have to take care of that. You know, as elected official, it's a quality of life issue when I see businesses not taking care of their own front of their property. So that's my purpose for calling the quality of life meeting. And right now, I'd just like to give credit also with the green team. I mean, here we are, 2020 just about, and everybody's talking about the environment, or at least some people are. Some people choose not to. You know, think it's nothing, think it's made believe. But we have a council member taking her own time to bring these issues up front to the public, and yet she is spoken negative about from a council member. I just think that's horrendous. I vote aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
You know, it's funny you bring up CVS. CVS on Millennium, they do not have a receptacle outside there.
Yes, they do. On the sign, they don't
Well,
have
it's too far away.
The entrance, it's at the entrance.
So anyway, I've noticed people walking out, and it just happened to be yesterday. I did see someone walking out, and they get their receipt, and it's not in that arm shot, and they just drop it on the floor. You know, it is about quality of life in Garfield, and you know, many people complaining about the litter in Garfield or in certain parts of Garfield, and you know, there are businesses that don't have it. And when they walk out, they just drop their wrappers. It's a shame.
How about strong
And
tolerance?
I'm sorry, I wasn't asking the audience right now, but you'll have your opportunity. I vote aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. The ordinance passes on introduction, and that concludes all written items for voting at this time. Mr. Mayor, members of the city council.
Okay. At this time, we'll open it up to citizens and taxpayers. Just remember, 3 minutes, and speak your,
Please.
3 minutes, please state your name and your address. Thank you. Anybody like to come on up?
You want me to go first? Because I'm gonna be up and down, like a jumping jack, that's why I'm sitting in.
Please come on up.
Sandra Raymond, 93, I might have a big mouth, you don't have to worry about that. Mayor, I really wish you would rethink this 3 minutes. I mean, I understand you gotta limit people, but 3 minutes is a little ridiculous. We're gonna be like jumping jacks, because I have a couple issues I do wanna discuss. I'd like to ask, last meeting, was that an ordinance or a resolution regarding Passaic Street?
Joe?
The-
Was-
the-
It was an
the,
ordinance.
It was an ordinance.
It was an ordinance. How come there was no second reading tonight?
You want me to answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
true.
There's 45-day waiting period because the planning board has to act in the meantime, and they have to adopt a resolution with their recommendation. I know they voted, but they did not pass the written resolution yet. They made a motion. The written resolution will be adopted, or is anticipated to be adopted at the July meeting. So this could be enacted upon at the next meeting.
All right, I did a little bit of investigating on the Sketchley property, and I have to say, I was part of that, and I'm proud to have been part of it. That piece of land there, that development there is really beautiful. It's out of the way. There's not a lot of traffic. I'm there a couple of times a week, and there's plenty of parking. Aaron, you and I were both right. There's two bedroom apartments available there, but there's a lot of one bedrooms still available. And I would like to say, put on the record, there are children. And I think those apartments were 600 square feet. That's little. There are children in our school district from those apartments. I just wanted to make mention of that. And regarding the redevelopment on Passaic Street, you know, there's so many people talking about this in town. I think you really need to give this a little more thought. And I would really like to see, when we were doing the Sketchley property, we had multiple meetings with the residents. Why can't you have multiple meetings with the residents that are gonna be impacted in that area and the businesses? Because they're gonna be hurt the most because of the parking. You know, and as far as it being a transit village and attracting millennials, I don't really think that's gonna happen. With the Sketchley property, I did some investigation. I went through there at 2:30 in the afternoon, and I would say there was about 20 cars, and there's loads of parking there. Now, if there was only 20 cars there in the afternoon, they're not using that train station. Those people are going to work somewhere, because I went through there then again 10:30 at night. The parking lot was crowded. So it's really not a transit village. And my fear is $2,000 a month to live on Passaic Street. I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think you're gonna attract the people that you want, that you're trying to target. I don't think that's the proper place to do it. I would like to suggest to this council, and it's a suggestion, it's only my opinion. You have so much, oh, there it goes.
Go ahead, Tanya, finish your statement.
You have so much property down there that really is disgusting. We talked about this, and you know, Mayor, you're a dear friend, you're a colleague, you know I love you, but we talked about this today when you were up in the office. Why don't you try and buy up some of that land? Danny's Pizza's been burned down for how many years? I understand that diner may close now, and he makes great hamburgers, but people can't park there. So why don't you try and buy up some of that land, make some parking down there before you make a decision like this? And please meet with the people in the area. The people have the right to have a say in for what they're gonna have to live with. And they're gonna have to live with whatever's there. And trust me, there will be children in those apartments. If we have them in the Sketchley property at 600 square feet, and that's small, you know that there's gonna be children in those apartments, and our schools are bursting at the seams. And just one last thing, because I have more, but I'll come back. The $2,000 fine that goes up to $2,000, that's a little high, but I understand that's the ceiling. I only wish that you would do that with the illegal apartments, because I understand those fines are down to $500. I'm investigating that now, and I'll be back to talk about that at another date, another time. But That's a quality of life issue also, Joe, the illegal apartments, and that, they're out of control. I have it right next door to me, and nothing's being done.
Thank you, Ted.
All right?
Anybody else would like to come up and speak? Anyone else?
Dolores Capizzi, 107 Midland. Mr. Delaney, I'm glad you talked about quality of life, especially when it comes to garbage. Maybe we can address a little bit with these actual garbage collectors. Those garbage cans are like $79, the ones with the lids that will last at least a year. But they just take them and they throw them in the street and cars hit them. So maybe for quality of life, even for safety in the road, maybe we could talk to the garbage collectors and have them actually put the cans back on the sidewalk and not throw them and break them, because they are expensive. I appreciate that. And also, speaking of quality of life, I'd like you to think about that in reference to the high-density project on Passaic Street. It seems that maybe we could get other people in who do not specialize in high-density construction. Maybe we can talk to other towns, especially Montclair, who has had in the paper some of the negative results of their redevelopment. And if we don't have to experience the negativity, if we could learn from that and we could maybe be creative and make it better, if we can look at that rather than just jumping into this. And then finally, with the franchise fees that are collected, I would like the redevelopment, planning, zoning, and city council meetings live streamed. It would be a little bit more than 1%, 2% maybe, if it's $1 million. Even if it costs $20,000 a year, which I calculated and it doesn't even come close to that, because the fee is a one-time fee of a little over 10.4. I think that the people of the town deserve to know what's happening, when it's happening, and how it's happening. For the people who work on a second shift, you know, they have a right to know what's going on when they get home and if they want to turn it on at midnight and watch. And if there's something that they feel that they can dedicate their talents to and they want to get involved in town, I think that we owe them that courtesy. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else would like to come up and speak? Please do.
My name is James Farias, and I want to ask you some
I'm
questions.
sorry, James, just your address, please.
58 Somerset Street, Garfield, New Jersey. Would any one of you want a 6-story building in your front yard or backyard? I don't think any one of you would do that, would want that kind of construction and that kind of traffic. We don't want another Hoboken here. I don't think it's right. And in some of the other meetings that we've had here, there's been arrogance and inconsideration to those that speak out. Some of them are foreigners and don't know what's going on, but everybody has the right here. And intimidation should not be allowed at any of these meetings with any of these people that speak out. And I have a right, and everybody else has a right to come to these meetings, but you make it difficult by having it so late. A lot of them have children and have to work second jobs just to make a living. And the garbage, I'm constantly picking up garbage. I go around Garfield, I take long walks, and I pick up garbage. Why don't you make the fines high and have people looking and finding these people, cops out on the road, checking to see who's throwing. I don't care if it's a cigarette butt, find them. Even if it's a little piece of paper or bottles and plastic, it's all over the streets. Time I get through walking, I have a bag filled a whole bag filled with garbage, people should be fined. And any of you have a question you'd like to ask me, I'd be more than happy to answer.
We, after everybody's done talking, we will address everybody that spoke.
Okay, that's fair. But I'm not happy about this construction. There's a lot of lying that's going on, a lot of deceivances, and you all know who they are. I mean, let's not kid one another. A lot of these people are not stupid here. We know what's going on in Garfield. And there's a lot of people that can't make it here tonight, that want to be here, but they have families and second jobs. And I'm sorry, but it's not fair.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
No. Anybody else would like to come up and speak?
Mike Dennis Strand, 104 Palisade Ave. We're paying $925,000 for a fire truck. Yeah, we're gonna build 6-story buildings on Passaic Street. Are these firemen gonna have access around the building? I don't think so. So, putting our firemen in jeopardy is a sin, and it's dangerous. I mean, will these ladder trucks be able to get around the building like Walmart and the rest of the places where they have access? These people need access to save lives. Another issue I have too, I'm a senior citizen. I used to have city council meetings on cable. I pay my $4 every month now, and there's more Cablevision people than there are Verizon people in the city of Garfield. And I don't have access anymore, but yet when you pay for something, you should have access. You pay for your channels on TV, you get them. You don't pay for them, you don't get them. I'm paying for them every month now, and I don't have access. If we could pay $925,000 for a fire truck, we could put out $10,000, a one-time payment, so the senior citizens could have access to Cablevision. I don't have a computer and I don't want one. I'm old school and I'm going to stay that way. But yet when you want senior citizens, you want their vote, you'll go out and get them. Then you'll bring them in to vote. You'll bust them down or you have them travel just to get their vote. I'm speaking for all the senior citizens. Thank you.
Anybody else? John?
My name is Joan Gomez of 25 Place, Garfield. I know you're sick of hearing about cable, but I'm really relaying the message. I met a few seniors the other day, and very prominent seniors, you all know them. I'm sure you, like Mike says, you go and ask them for their vote. And they are voters, the seniors are voters. But I met them and we were talking about cable. They wanted to know what happened with their cable channel, and I told them the story. And you know what their reply was? And they said, please relay this message. It was really upsetting. The reply was, no one cares about us anymore. That's what I was told, to relay that message. And I thought that was touching. And just to hear the reaction of that, you don't want us to have Cablevision, I told them what your message was about, we're not giving you the channel anymore, and whatever. It's been since September, so we've heard a lot of excuses for it. And I did mention your quote about if you want to know what's going on at the meeting, come to the meeting. And that wasn't taken out of context, that was your response to a request for transcripts. There was a question that came up about ownership of the cable channel, of the cable feed line. So I opened the contract, which I really don't think I should have to do. And in the contract, it states that the equipment shall be provided to the city free of charge, shall become the property of the city of Garfield. Also, I had to get the contract from the city hall, not from the board of ed. Shall become the property of the city of Garfield immediately upon completion of bringing in the equipment. The company shall provide airtime for public broadcasting of meetings and other events within the city. Shall be provided to the city of Garfield without cost to the city and will be passed along to the city residents and subscribers. And that's who we are. And it hasn't been addressed. You haven't addressed those subscribers and the monies that we are paying. Since 2007 to present, Garfield has received from both cable channels $3,693,000. I've said it at the last meeting, I'll say it at this meeting, and no one has made a comment about it. You did mention that, oh, you think cable is dead. That was a quote from the board meeting. Cable's not dead because I keep getting these great advertisements from cable companies. They're spending a lot of money on this, so you need to tell them that they're dead. And our seniors that do watch, they go home and they close their door and they're watching their cable TV. And I'm really disappointed in your decision not to recognize or not to come to a conclusion or come to a satisfactory remedy for this problem.
Thank you, June. Anybody else would like to come up and speak? Ms. Ed? Devine?
Ed Devine, 159 Market, Garfield, here in town. Before I get started, I'm not looking for any TV time. And whoever has the phone ringing back there, I watched the last meeting online. That you must, whoever, I don't know who has it, about 10 phone calls, maybe some. I think everybody's got their phone shut off, right?
It's the timer.
It's a timer. Oh, it's a 3-minute timer. Oh, I didn't even know what was on it. It's an egg timer. Well, before I get started on the cable issue, I just want to say the fireworks were fantastic. I thought it was just great. Bag ordinance, as Mr. Laney knows, fantastic as far as I'm concerned. More cans, the more the merrier. Put them everywhere. Due to the way that meetings are formatted, the only way to really get to the crux of any issue here is to watch the meeting in full and then formulate your comments for the following meeting, being there's no chance to rebuke anything that the council says. Council has their say, the hammer goes down, we shut the lights off. So this is my new approach. The thing that never goes away, Cablevision. Mr. Mayor, you said you wished everybody was here when we were getting rid of Cablevision. We could have fixed it or tweaked it. Did we actually get rid of Cablevision? I don't know. You don't have to answer that right now. If we did, that would have really been a shame because what we really needed were people that were capable of putting together a production that would be available to watch on Cablevision. This had nothing to do with getting rid of Cablevision. This had to do with getting people in here, and we love the students, we all know that. We needed people in here that could put together a production that would be viewable on Cablevision. So getting rid of Cablevision, if that indeed happened, was senseless. When we had Cablevision, people made a big deal about it because it wasn't working right. It was free, it was free. You know, when I go into Burger King and I order a Big Mac and they hand me an empty bag and they say, well, you know what? It was free. I say, I didn't come in here for a free bag. I came in here for a Whopper. Give me my Whopper. I didn't pull off the road for a free bag. If you're gonna advertise something and tell people that, you know, you're gonna offer it, you know, don't run them around and not offer it. Just on this, Ms. Raymond mentioned the fines for, this is off topic, but I thought there was a mandatory minimum, something around 1,000 or 1,500 for the illegal apartments. I don't know how this possibly could have ever been reduced to 500.
It's changed.
500? I don't know who did that, where that one snuck in. Wow, that was intimidating at one point. I guess not too intimidating anymore, right? Do I have to sit?
Keep going. We'll give you another minute.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, again, you mentioned, you know, the Cablevision not getting put on in July and August because the kids were on vacation and they were working on a volunteer basis. I have to ask you personally, do you have Cablevision or Fios?
Files.
Okay. So did you ever watch the production on Cablevision yourself personally? You did. Not on a regular basis because you don't have Cablevision.
I watched it.
All right. Well, I can tell you must have really hit a good night because for anybody to be able to possibly defend the Cablevision production is beyond my comprehension. It was literally a picture such as that one on the wall with no sound for hours. Indefensible. How can you say, well, you know, we're crying about something that's right? It was a picture. Everyone who has Cablevision is aware of it. You also mentioned, now that we have to spend money, people's feelings get hurt. I don't know whose feelings are getting hurt. My feelings aren't certainly getting hurt. I don't take this personally. But get right to the point here, I don't feel that $10,000 is the issue at all. Because if I had to listen to this nonsense twice a month, I would write a check from my own checkbook for $10,000. So this has nothing to do with $10,000. There's some kind of game, little football game, little touchy-feely with the high school and people who wanted the contract, didn't get the contract. I don't know the ins and outs. I'm not in the club. But something went on here. We know this is not $10,000. And if the city's that bad up for $10,000 and this money's already been allotted, Mr. Dutch, when you say allotted, I guess that's code for don't even think about it until 2020 because we don't have it now, so 2020. If the city needs 10 grand, I'll loan you the 10 grand. You know, I mean, this is just crazy for 10 grand. It makes no sense whatsoever. So there's more to it than that. And I'm really hesitant to venture as to what it actually is. Alpha Dog. I'm going to get off the Cablevision for a little bit. Don't know what's going on there. If anyone has an update on the website, I know things don't happen overnight. Mr. Lawyer, last meeting, get the Cablevision hook up in City Hall, paid 10 grand. Absolutely. Paid 10 grand to buy poles to run banners across the street. Well, geez, maybe we could get the Cablevision going. As far as the contact with the Board of Education and meetings and discussions, Ms. Delaney mentioned the meeting to discuss the use of Cablevision equipment. Now, Mr. Dutch mentioned he had people from Cablevision over at the Board of Ed looking at the equipment. So I don't know whether we're going to get a meeting going here to find out if we could use the broken equipment or whether we don't know whether it's broken. However, I would be interested in knowing if, Mr. Dutch, if you did manage to get an answer yet from Cablevision as to the feasibility of using the equipment. I don't understand how a guy from Cablevision can come in and not be able to take a look at the stuff and have an answer in 2 seconds. That's garbage. You need new stuff. We're waiting weeks, months for an answer on this equipment. And just the last one, Mr. Dutch, if there's been any updates on Fleischman's Brook.
Thank you, Mr.
That's it.
Kelly.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to come up and talk?
Good evening, Michael Gall, 20 Upper Place, Garfield. Just a quick question, like on the little over $3 million for the franchise fees. Where is that exactly in the budget, or has it been spent, or is it surplus? That's my only question for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Anybody else? Ms. Randall?
Come up again?
Michael.
There's nobody after me, but I need more than 3 minutes. I just wanted to say, that money that's in Cablevision, that $3 or $4 we get charged, that's our money. That's not the city's money, that's our money. We pay that, the taxpayers. I certainly think that we could afford $10,000. And I know it was mentioned that you were gonna have the meeting with the Board of Education. Has that meeting taken place yet? I don't know if you really wanna use their equipment. I don't know how updated it is, but the principal is there. The principals are here. through the summer. So if you need to have a meeting, Mrs. D'Amico is there. And what everybody has said about the meetings being televised, it's the talk all over town. And I can tell you from my son's medical office, they all come in and complain. So if you got Fios, you're lucky, Rich, you got Fios, you can watch it. I don't have Fios, I have cable vision, and I'll be damned, I'm not watching it on a 4-inch phone. So, really, you need to think about this, and this is not gonna go away. If you need, we'll bring a busload of seniors at the next meeting, and they'll tell you their thoughts. I want to say tonight on a happier note, I want to thank everybody. The dog park is finally done. Finally done. It's beautiful. I've been down there. I've been watching them put this all together. I would like to extend, the DPW, Sam Garofalo did a great job. They really did. And I know Kevin Boswell was involved with a lot of the planning. But I thank the council for finally making this dream come true. And a special thank you to Rick Cangelosi. He did most of the work. Every time I went down there, he was down there working. And of course, I know Councilman Aloya really pushed this project. He's kept me informed, and I really do appreciate it. The signs are beautiful. I know it's not complete yet. You got some toys to go in there. Now all I need to do is get a dog. And our DPW, I have to say, and this is the God's honest truth, my son just mentioned to me the other day, how beautiful our parks look. He said for a city, our parks are really looking good. He made mention about the park on River Road. So, they're doing a good job, and the DPW, I understand, is working short. I know you hired some summer help, but they need some more help. One day I called down there, I had bags that need to be picked up from my landscaper, and John Lord had to come out in the truck and pick it up himself, because there was nobody available. But I really want to thank them for the beautiful job they did, and they're always there, whether it snows, whether we have a hurricane or whatever, they really do a good job, and they deserve the credit. And thanks again for the dog park, it's really a dream come true. I want to just quickly go through, we had, of course, I know you have heard about the hoarding situation on Semmel Avenue. I want to thank all the GARF members, they never get the recognition. We have taken over 50, Rich, this is important, can I just finish this? Over 50 cats and kittens off that property. And I have to say, when I made the call to Darlene Reveley at the health department, because the woman would not let us on her property and we wanted to help her with the cats, Darlene immediately sent the new health inspector down, who is awesome. She, in less than 24 hours, had the hazmat team there were police cars there, the place is deplorable. But now, we've filled the shelter, they won't take any more. We filled the nursery, we have so many kittens. We have our members fostering the kittens. In fact, if we can get them all adopted, you're all getting a Christmas present. It really was a sad situation, and it wasn't an animal abuse situation. She loved these animals. It just got out of hand. And I have to say, this happened since Lisa left. She trusted Lisa. She used to let Lisa take the cats. Once she went, in the last 3 years, these cats have just been multiplying. We've got kittens with 3 legs. I mean, they're interbreeding. So we've been trying our best. We've reached out to other groups. I'd like to thank Focus has helped us. Franklin Lakes Rescue Group has helped us. Some of the kittens were shipped up to Pequannock. You have no idea what we've been going through, and we've been buying the food out of our own pockets. And I have to say, the man that runs the shelter has been nice to us, but they service 50 towns. They're overrun. They can't take anymore. So, I mean, before you renew their contract, really, I would like to have a meeting with this council that maybe we could brainstorm and do something else. But I really would like to thank all the people that got involved and helped us with this situation. It was really a bad situation. It's still a mess. There's still more cats to be taken away off the property. I don't know what we're gonna do with them. The adult cats, after we spayed and neutered them, we brought them back, but they have to be fed, so we're going down there and feeding them every night, and it's just costing, our organization a lot of money. And one last thing. Last election, and I know, Drew, we discussed this, and you told me that this wasn't legal, it was unconstitutional. Last election, people voted from Passaic in Garfield. I know this for a fact. Somebody that works in Passaic was at a polling place and recognized some of the people. And Mr. Dutch, if you would like to speak to him, he would gladly speak to you. He was a Passaic employee, and he said to this one woman, "Why are you voting in Garfield?" And she said, "Well, I came to stay with my sister for 3 weeks." That doesn't allow her to vote in this town. So if you would like to, I definitely, could hook you up with him. I know he would speak to you. And one last thing, Mr. Delaney, I was just wondering about this. When we talked about some of the events in town, you said that was because of redevelopment. Did we get money from a developer to sponsor all this stuff? I was interested to know, because we did get the money for the police station. I know we got some money, but did we get money from a developer to sponsor these events that we're having? I know you mentioned that at the last meeting. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Denistron, 104 Palisade Ave. One thing we forgot to mention, I want to thank you for the 4th of July fireworks. That was fantastic. And I think the band was pretty good, too. Thank you, City of Garfield.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Dashner. Anybody else? Joan?
I failed to mention this. If someone would please clarify that statement that keeps being said about we got rid of cable. How could we get rid of cable if you showed it, if you showed how to apply for the parking stickers, the new parking systems? Didn't you use Channel 77 about a month ago to show how to apply for the parking stickers? So if you showed it on Channel 77, how could you say we got rid of cable? So maybe Mr. Dutch could clarify that statement. I really don't recall a resolution getting rid of cable. Was there a resolution getting rid of cable? I don't remember seeing a resolution getting rid of cable. And that statement is when, after we speak and then you speak, and you kind of put a twist on things and it changes the picture. So that statement of we got rid of cable, it really, cable is still there, Channel 77 is still there, and you used it. Thank you.
James?
The parks are beautiful. How about more parks instead of 6-story buildings? Nobody in Garfield, I go around Garfield and I've spoken to all of the Polish people that have homes and Spanish people. They've taken a lot of pride in their properties. They don't want 6-story buildings built. We don't want another Hoboken here. We don't want traffic, and I think basically we have the ability to make this planet a beautiful garden. I'm glad they're getting rid of plastics. Go back to glass. I came from a generation that had glass, not plastic. I go around Garfield, and I'm the guy that goes around picking up everyone's garbage. Make the fines, have the cops finding people, and have community, do community services for those that are finding and throwing garbage around. There's a lot of people that throw garbage. I see a family, they're on Passaic Street. One family in the front, mother and father are throwing bags out of the front window, and the kids are throwing it out of the back window. I started yelling at them, and they just swore at me. I went and I picked up the garbage. I should have taken the license plate. But this is going on a lot. And I don't think there's enough cops patrolling the area for the druggies and some of the prostitution that's going on. And a lot of other things too. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Anybody? Mr. Denstra?
Mike Denistron, 104 Palisade Ave. We have police on bicycles, I've noticed, at certain times of the year. And I think it would be very important if we could utilize some of these police officers on bicycles in the summertime especially that people are complaining about garbage. I pick up garbage all week long, same thing. But I notice they can come up on you faster sometimes than a police car. You know, and I've gotten a ticket one time in Clifton. I parked on the wrong side of the street, and I got a ticket on my car, and there was a police officer on a bicycle. And I says, "Where'd he come from?" So I think I've seen him before, and I think it's a great opportunity if we get some more of these police officers on bicycle writing tickets for garbage and littering. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? I see no hands. Before I open it up to council comments, Mr. Dutch will answer some of the questions that pertain to the city.
Okay. Let's start with Mrs. Raymond. You talked about Danny's Pizza. You should know that that property owner has tried to develop that property himself. He did go before the zoning board some years back. He was soundly rejected on what he was trying to do. I have met with him. We've discussed the possibility of doing something with the multiple properties that he owns in that area. So he looks like someone who is a ready, willing, and able developer. So we're trying to work something out with him to get that cleaned up. Dolores, you spoke about the garbage contractor. You're absolutely correct. The cans all over the road. I will speak to Mr. Garofalo tomorrow, and I will ask Mr. Garofalo to address that with our trash contractor. You are correct. In terms of Montclair, you talked about Montclair and redevelopment in Montclair. After the meeting, I'd like you to point me to the less intense redevelopment in Montclair, because I've spent time walking the streets in Montclair and walking the redevelopment zone, and it is major intense. So you're talking about a less intense area. I'd like you to point it out to me, and I'll be happy to go there and take a look at it. James, you talked about having a right to speak. Everyone has a right to speak. You absolutely have a right to speak, and you should always feel comfortable to come before the governing body and speak your mind. In terms of garbage, I was glad to hear you say to make the fines high. I have people regularly come to my door who complain about the trash fines that are in effect right now, and they complain that they're too high. So it's good to hear that you are a good citizen and you're out there really working and doing a lot on your own. So, but I was glad to hear your comment about trash fines, and I'm going to look at that issue. Mr. Denistran, you talked about the firemen and having access on Passaic Street and redevelopment. I was the mayor when we built the Belmont Gardens Senior Complex, and we had tremendous debates about whether or not we would be able to serve that complex because it's 6 stories high. So we were told by multiple firefighters, there were multiple hearings that took place, and we were told that the building would be properly sprinkled, that it would be within the confines of the 17 towns that are in our mutual aid area, that there were X number of ladder trucks way back then that would be able to service our people. Nevertheless, construction techniques are much more advanced today, and it would be up to the planning board and the engineer and the experts who represent the city to make sure that any redevelopment, any multi-story project was fully compliant with all fire codes. We do not want an Avalon Bay here. We do not want that to happen here. So we understand that. Joan, you talked about the cable channel and you talked about the funds. I indicated at the last meeting that what happens is the funds that come in franchise fees are turned over to the city treasurer. Those funds then become part of the base numbers that I use for the budget the following year. So the 2018 funds that we get will be used in the 2019 budget. So the funds come in and they are immediately anticipated and they are used in the regular city budget. And yeah, there is a lot of money that comes in, but that money is all applied right back to Joe Citizen, to your tax base. So in terms of Ed Devine, Ed, I was glad to hear you say the fireworks were great. I sit at the fireworks display and I sweat all the time. And I sweat, is it going to be a good display? Because if it's not, people will not be satisfied. And unfortunately, in Ridgewood, it happened that they had their fireworks display, and they had some fireworks actually backfired, and there was a shot that hit the ground, and they had to stop their display. So we've been very fortunate with Bay Fireworks. This is their 4th year with us. They are excellent. We actually go over how many 2-inch shells we're going to have, how many 2.5, how many 3. how far the fallout zone is, the hot zone, so we make sure that there's nobody within the hot zone. And I know Mrs. Raymond is looking at me because last year she complained that the noise was too much. So our finale this year was a little more glitzy and a little less noisy. All right, so I heard what you said. Ed Devine, you talked about illegal apartments. Yes, you're right, there is a minimum fine. And I think Mrs. Raymond, you mentioned that too. So I will go back and see if I can find out why is there a minimum fine not being levied? All right, so that's a very, very good question. In terms of Cablevision, when we started with Cablevision and the filming was done with high school students and high school teachers who helped out. The high school teachers who helped out spent a great deal of time, their time, volunteering and putting it together for us. You talked about Mrs. D'Amico, Mrs. Raymond. I brought the Cablevision people to the Garfield High School. I went with Mrs. D'Amico. Ed, you talked about why didn't the Cablevision people right on the spot be able to tell me exactly what needed to be done. I will tell you that the people they sent were really the wrong people. They sent people who were very friendly, who were very accommodating, but who were not technologically savvy. So we actually had to look for where the equipment was and which was exactly the equipment. Now, what happens is, because the technology is so old, and I believe Councilman Aloya said at the last meeting that he was the mayor when it was determined that the Cablevision installation would be put at the high school. I never knew that until he said it at the last meeting, but when it was put there, it really is unfortunately under the domain of the Board of Education. So, but nevertheless, I reached out to Ms. Siaka, I reached out to Ms. D'Amico, I went there to see if, based on our contract, which is with the city, are we entitled to any kind of an upgrade? All right, it's been so many years, it would make sense to me that we should be entitled to an upgrade. That has not happened. So they advised me that they would look at it. I followed up with an email last week, or the week before, and I was advised that the tech people, somebody had dropped the ball and it was going to go to the tech people and they would get back to me. And I'm going to say this only because some people have heard this, some have not. It's been on TV, but maybe you didn't hear me say it. With the Verizon installation, we were able to get the Verizon installation put in for free. It took a lot. The Verizon installation came in. I took advantage of a high school student who interned for me last year and the year before, and he told me what equipment to buy. We actually bought the equipment. We sat and we have a rack downstairs that we were able to install all the Verizon stuff. I actually took pictures. I went back and forth with the Verizon people on the phone, and we connected it ourselves. The only thing I was not able to do was to broadcast. I was able to get it on the TV screen in the copy room downstairs. I could not get it out to the public. So we engaged our filmers who are here today. They came in, and in less than 2 hours, of course, because they're much more technologically savvy than I am, they were able to get it put on. So when the meeting ends here, you normally will see the filmers go downstairs. They're able to put the chip into the machine, and they're able to put it on almost instantly. So we don't have the same ability with the equipment at the school. At the school, I'm told, and I'm not going to describe it the way it should be described, but I'm told that it is a multi-step operation. Because the system is so old, this chip has to be converted somehow, then converted again, then converted again, so to make it work. And we were told, when they came before the mayor and council, that it takes hours to do it. And unfortunately, we can't order them to take the hours. Mr. Devine, you also spoke about the Alpha Dog website. The website should have been introduced earlier this year. It was not, because I recommended to the governing body that we do the parking permit program under the existing website, because I was afraid that if we did the parking permit program and changed the website at the same time, I wasn't sure how it was going to operate. So now that the parking permit program is in effect, I think almost 7,000 separate households have registered for permits, so that is well underway and well in effect. Last week, we sent a final notice to all of the department heads to go through all of the draft website information, make sure all their information is accurate. The department heads are coming back with that information now. About half of them have. The other half still have to. And I'm thinking that, oh, and we're also migrating the email. The email was provided by our prior web server. It now has to be provided through Microsoft Outlook. We're working on that. I'm hoping to have all that migration and stuff done in about 30 days. Update on Fleischer's Brook. On Fleischer's Brook, our engineer actually went to Trenton to talk about Fleischer's Brook with the DEP. We're having an issue. By the middle school, there's an area where it's eroding, all right? So we wanted to fix that, and we went and got this grant for Fleischer's Brook to fix it. We're actually in a little bit of a battle between our engineer and the DEP over what is the best way to fix it, all right? Because anybody who knows about the middle school, the left side of the middle school has a grid in the grass that a fire truck could drive over. So it's very important that we get the brook stabilized and a proper wall put in so that a fire truck could always continue to go down the left side of the middle school as well as the right side. The right side is paved. The left side accommodates it, but it needs to be repaired. So we're still going back and forth with the DEP on that. Mr. Gall, you asked about the franchise fees. I hope I answered that by explaining, that it goes into the next year's budget. In terms of John Lord coming to pick everything up, John Lord is a working supervisor. So he's a guy who's driving a tractor. He's a guy who's, like you said, picking up bags by that were not picked up by somebody else. So everybody is kind of doing what they have to do. The person who voted from Passaic, Garfield, I want that information from you, Mrs. Raymond. I would appreciate that. Mr. Dennis Strand, I noticed that you danced pretty well. I saw you at the 4th of July with your lady friend, and it was good to see somebody out there taking the lead to get people to dance. Joan, you said there was a comment about we got rid of cable. Cablevision is a franchise. Cablevision contract exists with the city. Cablevision is here. It's here to stay. The question is really, do they give us new equipment? Do they update our equipment? Do they upgrade our equipment? I'm not sure how that happens. I'm trying. James, you talked about the parks being beautiful. You have not been at prior meetings, so we do have a plan to go forward with Riverfront Park Phase 2, and that'll be from Monroe Street to Passaic Street. We put together a little over, almost $4 million in funding to do that. So we're in design phase, we're in property acquisition phase right now. I was in touch with Green Acres people last week to talk about that project. And then, Mr. Dennis Strand, you talked about police on bicycles. Yes, it is a good idea. Chief Kovacs is a big proponent of police on bicycles, so I think you're going to see more of that. Mr. Mayor, I tried to answer all the questions posed. Thank you for giving me the time.
No problem. Councilman Calangelo, please.
Yes, thank you. First of all, Mayor, I think we should reevaluate. We should give the public at least 5 minutes. By the time they sit down, get back up, I think we could eliminate some of that. But that's just my opinion. It was talked about, and Ms. Raymond spoke about Sketchley. And Sketchley, there's plenty of parking. But it was plenty of parking because that's what the council had really pushed for. There was, in the beginning, they wanted 110 apartments, 90 apartments. So it was really because of what the city did, what the redevelopment board did at the time to bring that number down. And that's the point we're looking at today. 105 units. 105 units is way too much density. You know what? Go with half of that number. Go with something that works in the community, that we could see something that looks decent. So that's the point that I think we all have to focus on. And Mr. Pavlicka, when will that resolution or that ordinance be finalized? At what meeting now, since we're changing meetings around and
That will be August 13th.
so now it's not going to be on the second meeting of August. It's going to be the next meeting, first
Correct.
meeting of August.
Yes, sir.
All right, so for the public, date has been changed, and that's when the hearing will be. for that property. And Mr. Dutch, once that passes, if it should pass, what's the next step? Those things, now, everything is in place, and there's no stopping that project, am I correct?
What happens then is that the zoning change would have to be, the zoning will change, and then an applicant can make an application, okay? And they can apply to do up to that amount. They can apply to do up to 6 stories. They can apply to do up to that amount.
And it would go in front of the redevelopment authority.
Correct. And there will be public hearings, and the public will have an opportunity to speak at redevelopment. Public will also have an opportunity to speak at the planning board, and public notice will be required.
But there's nothing to change that ordinance. They will be entitled to build up to those numbers.
Correct.
And as the redevelopment director, has been any talk of developer fees or developer contributions to the city, such as on these big projects that were built over the course of time?
There's been no discussion, but I can assure you that my concern would be infrastructure that's necessary to support the redevelopment. So I would expect that we would need some infrastructure contribution, and we would need to look at, the developer, what's proposed. I would look for, recommendations from our engineer, so, but in terms of a dollar amount, no.
Well, this would be a big project, and just to refresh your memory, we had down by the Walmart, that was Vornado, they paid the city about $750,000 when Ms. Raymond was the mayor. Some of that money went into the fixing of City Hall. Demetrakis paid the city $2.8 million, which helped towards our police station. The development right down the road on River Drive and Outwater Lane, they paid the city $500,000 for costs. So I'm hoping that, I'm hoping this doesn't go through at those numbers, at that density. But if it does, there has to be a price due to the city for the inconvenience. And, Mr. Dennis Rand, you are right. That you get a fire in that building, it's not like the 6-story Belmont Gardens. You could drive around that building very easily. You have access from all corners of that building. It's a big difference. And it is federal housing. It's something that the city needs. There's a need for our seniors to have that. There's not a need for 110 apartments in a developer's building. I can't see it. It hasn't been proven. They are Mr. Lawyer said it, the 2 nicest buildings. Those are the ones that we're going after. And where does it stop? All right, we give 110 units, then we're going to work our way right down Passaic Street. We will be very similar to a Hoboken, sir. And you know what? It's a nice place to visit. I like to go to Washington Avenue over there once in a while, but I can't wait to get out of there. And so that's what I'm about, what I see. We talk about the quality of life, and I was not criticizing anybody's job on the green team. I was asking about a vote. So I want to be very clear on that. As we talk about Cablevision, oh, by the way, we had a report by our auditor. The auditor stated to us, for this year's budget, we had $8.8 million surplus. $8.8 million surplus. We had $3.7 million in our water account. We had $1.7 million still from the sale of the property in Elmwood Park. We did utilize $750,000 out of the water to offset taxes. We did utilize $3.6 million out of our $8.8 million to turn back into offset taxes. But part of that money is our cable fees. And you know what, Mayor? You said at the last meeting when I was here, when I got upset, I left, you said that, I wish I was deaf when you speak, addressing to me. Well, thank God you're not deaf. But to those people that do have that handicap, I think you owe them an apology, because that is really, that's not tongue in cheek. You are an elected official. you're an educator and a principal and a mayor. So that's a really harsh statement. And I just want to say one thing here. You know, in regards to the Cablevision, in simple terms, the city of Garfield in the last 10 years received over $3 million from franchise fees. Our residents, you the public, pay that money. Why are Verizon customers able to view our meetings on TV? And I have Verizon. I have it. When the Cablevision customers, who are actually more than Verizon customers, they can't get the meeting. Every customer should receive the same courtesy for viewing meetings equally. They pay for it. You pay for it. That's your money. And to say that cable is not popular anymore, well, if 3.5% over the course of 3 years is $3 million, what about that other 96.5%? They're making a lot of money. So somebody's giving wrong information up here. I would like to address the comments at the last meeting. Fortunately, I was able to watch the meeting. Sometimes that microphone, by the way, when someone's a little shorter, it doesn't pick up the sound. So maybe we should check that mic. But, you know, I have received earlier an email from our city clerk, and there was never a resolution to get rid of Cablevision. It's been said here, we got rid of Cablevision. Anyone up here who continues to say they voted to get rid of Cablevision is not telling you the truth. We never got rid of Cablevision. Cablevision is here. We just changed the people who were filming the meetings. And to the young man that does it with his own equipment, he's doing a terrific job at a very reasonable price. So we never got rid of Cablevision. There's not a resolution. I have the email from Drew stating that he can't find any vote, any resolution on that. I also have another email which should shed some light as to why our meetings with the Board of Ed have been stopped, and the city is not able to use the feed. Around November 21, 2008, after emailing Mr. Pavlicka, who was handling the Cablevision situation, I received an email from the mayor giving Drew a directive: do not call Cablevision, do not contact the superintendent or the Board of Ed. In fact, he told the city clerk to remove himself from the situation. Mine was merely a request to try to get it done. Therefore, Cablevision that was broadcasted on our meetings prior, back when, as far as when Tanner was the mayor, was stopped on September of 2018. That's why the public does not see the meetings anymore. By sending this email, the mayor interfered and had direct involvement with, is the reason why Cablevision viewers do not get the meetings. And recently, even voted against putting the feed in City Hall. $10,000, the feed is done. We can move on to bigger problems. We could do everything, and we're being totally transparent. So we do have, and it's also been said, nobody complained. People have been complaining. I've been bringing it to this council that people have been complaining. So what do we need to do to address it and fix it? And what are we waiting for? You know, it said, well, not at this time. Are we waiting for this whole process of redevelopment to move forward and be out of the so-called public eye? You know, now's the time. Now's the time. There's no better time later on. So anyway, I want to thank you for the time. The dog park does look terrific. Tana, I know it's something passionate to you. And Mr. Aloya took it by the horns and did a terrific job. So it's something to be proud of. The fireworks, Class A. You know what? I live right down the street, but I was on the field. I was there. What a great job. Our firemen were there. You know, they have to check the roofs, make sure there's no ash that could burn down any other buildings in the surrounding area. Our police were there. Our DPW was there. Our city manager was there. The council was there. It was a great evening. And that band, Mr. Dennis, they were pretty good. And you could dance pretty good on the baseball infield. I also noticed that. So I think I pretty much got to everything. And if anybody wants to see the emails I'm referring to, I have them right here. All right? I'm not making this stuff up. I have right here in writing. Thank you very much.
Councilwoman Delaney?
Just very briefly, I'd like to start off by saying, Mr. Denistran, I agree with you in regards to the police on bicycles. I think that's a great idea. I know our Community Affairs Division, which is fairly newly established, really does enjoy being in the community. So that's definitely something I think we should talk to them about, especially in certain areas of the city and keeping it clean. I believe James is your name? Absolutely, as Mr. Judge said, everyone has a right to come to our meetings. I know you mentioned our meetings being too late. I mentioned not too long ago revisiting the format of our meetings. I personally am not a fan of them. I do not like having the work sessions immediately before our public meetings. Other towns have a work session, earlier at 7 p.m. one week and then a public session the following. This is something that we agreed on at the start of our term. It's not to say that it's too late to reconsider it, but if that's the case, the next council members that are elected in the following election, maybe it's something that they can consider. Moving on, Tana, I absolutely agree. If the minimum fines are $500 for illegal apartments, I think that's absolutely atrocious and should definitely be addressed and be a lot higher. Okay, let's see what else. In regards to redevelopment, I still stand by my sentiments from the last meeting. I don't want to say too much on it, being that it's going to be discussed, I'm sure, in detail on August 13th. But I'm a one that feels this is redevelopment is essential in keeping the Passaic Street area alive and thriving. And as I said at the last meeting, we need to stop planning and start doing. I know parking is a concern, and it was considered in other projects. So who's to say that this won't be taken into account for this project? I know that's something that I will definitely be keeping an eye on. As far as the Sketchley property, I also did some research, Tana, and maybe we can compare notes. But I have in my research that there is 76 units. Within those units, 55 one-bedrooms and 21 two-bedrooms. Only 6 are unrented, so 70 are currently rented, which is a pretty high number. And of those 6 unrented, 5 are 2 bedrooms, and obviously it's one bedroom that is not rented. Of those rented units, there are 12 kids. And just personally, if you have, 2 family houses that have 2-bedroom units, for a lot less rent, you're going to have a lot more than 12 kids. So people are paying that high rent that everyone is concerned about. So again, that's 16 2-bedroom apartments with only 12 kids. So I just wanted to share that. That's what I had in my notes. And then as far as Cablevision, if there's no other way of being broadcasted on Cablevision, I have no problem spending that $10,000. We were on Cablevision in the past. I said this in the last meeting. However, if there's other routes, for instance, with the partnership of the Board of Education, why spend the money if it's not necessary? All I do is encourage the exploration of other routes before spending this $10,000. With that being said, I know the surplus being quite high this year, but it was also noted that we use more than we have in the past. So I just wanted to make that clarification. And then last but not least, again, I completely concur with the success of the dog park. I think it was absolutely needed here in our great city. Councilman Aloya, again, did such a wonderful job. I saw pictures on the Garfield parents page, and it's just so nice to see the community excited about something positive. The fireworks were absolutely fabulous. I just wanted to mention we have our police academy, junior police academy graduation this upcoming Friday. So I congratulate all of those cadets that participated this year. I know I personally, when I was in middle school, was part of the second graduating class. So I'm not sure if I'm looking forward to or not looking forward to seeing what number class is this year. Mr. Denistran and other people that are interested, our next city concert will be on August 17th, I believe. So we look forward to seeing everyone there. And I just want to thank Tom for pushing the website and trying to push that along. I know it hasn't been easy, but it's definitely something that's been needed. And then also On the agenda this evening were some resolutions for our NJDOT grants, so I'm happy to see that we're prioritizing Midland Ave and implementing and improving our curbs and sidewalks along that roadway. With that being said, enjoy the rest of your summer until August 13th, everyone.
Deputy Mayor, thank you.
Yes, quickly, it's getting late, I know. Quick, Jim, the meeting's been this time since I've been on the council, it's always been 8 PM. I don't know why, but that's just the way it's always been. But we always encourage people to come. Always encourage people to come to meetings. I've always pushed for that. Mike, I would never, and I'm sure there's not a council member up here that would ever put a fireman's life in danger. So that goes beyond saying. Safety is always our main concern. And if the fire department comes up here and tells us that we need to do this, we need to do that, like they told us they need a new fire truck, that's what we do. If the fire chief asks us that they need something, we listen to them. We never put anybody's life in danger. Dolores, you said about the garbage cans being thrown. I believe we got rid of the last company, garbage company, Tom, because we were having problems with that company. So we do look at that. We always follow up. If we have a problem with the garbage company, we change it, or we speak to them to straighten up, or we'll ship you out. So we do look at that. And I've been discussing garbage at Quality Life meetings and since the past 3 years. Garbage has always been a big issue. I also, Jim, go around picking up garbage, but I also pick up other dogs' poop. You know that? I always bring an extra bag, and I'm picking up other people's poop, not people's, dogs' poop. You know, but I always have, because it is. If I don't pick it up, who's going to pick it up? And you know what? Every single citizen in Garfield should feel that same way too, if they have a desire to keep Garfield, you know, the number one, you know? So, the big thing, I guess, Joan, I take it you told the seniors that, that famous quote that I supposedly said, but I also hope you told them that I voted against changing the cable vision. Whatever you want to call it, not getting rid of cable, getting rid of cable. There was a resolution on the floor that stated we were getting rid of the kids in the back, bringing in somebody new. And with that resolution, Cablevision was out, Fios was in. So that's what happened. Since we voted on that, since that resolution was passed, correct me if I'm wrong, Drew, is that when Cablevision stopped?
Yes.
So excuse me, Mayor. So that's when it did stop. So I did vote against, well, whatever you want to call it, but that resolution, that was passed, that was pushed for by a certain council member, that was pushed for, was the reason why we do not have Cablevision right now. So I hope you told the seniors that. I doubt if you did, but if you did, I deeply appreciate it. You know, and we're talking about just $10,000. I mean, how could we just come up here and say, oh, it's just $10,000, when for months, we spoke about a $2,000 stipend paid to a volleyball coach. But because the so-called person who was bringing it up, nobody had a problem with that. That was a lot of money. But now we're speaking, the so-called other side is speaking about $10,000. It's not a lot of money. For months we spoke about a $2,000 stipend between a coach and if we paid a volleyball coach, and then it was a lot of money. But now $10,000 isn't a lot of money. I have no problem with Cablevision. I want the Cablevision to stay. Tom, I recommend we have Optimum in town right now putting up lines all over the city. Correct, right?
Yes.
Could we get in touch with them to help us out? I have no clue.
I don't know.
It's an idea, you know? But to come up here and say $10,000 isn't a lot of money when we fought for about $2,000 for months, that's, you know, absurd. And we just got out of a work session where we spoke about $25,000 that I was willing to spend, that certain people weren't, to save $203,000. So, you know, we can't say on one hand, you know, it's not a lot of money, on the other hand, it's a lot of money. It's what's all the details. The $25,000 that we might have to spend could get us a piece of property that will continue our riverfront park, that could save us a $203,000 grant that we got from the county. We don't spend that money, we don't get that test done, we lose that $203,000. So let's take everything, everything matters here. You just can't pick sides because a certain side decides against it. Mayor, you're full of information tonight. God bless. I love the fact that with the Johnny Lord picking up the leaves, the grass. But you know what? He shouldn't. He's a supervisor. The supervisor, yeah, our leaves, and we spoke about putting grass out. We shouldn't have to call up. If our grass clippings are put out on street cleaning days, like our city says it's supposed to, then it will be picked up by the people. Well, then it will get picked up on the next street cleaning day. We should, and I see we have manpower being wasted picking up grass clippings here and there. But if the people would just put them out on the street cleaning days, you have both days. You have your side and the opposite side. Then we don't have to send a guy every day throughout the whole city picking up grass clippings. We could have them picking up garbage instead. So it's that's, and with regard to the fines, I hope, and I got full faith in our judge. I would never tell the judge what to do. I believe he puts the harshest payment. I have faith in our court system. That we have people there. So that's where I'm going to leave it with that. Quickly, Tom, I was at a car wash on Midland Ave in Garfield today. And he asked me, it's right on Midland and Charles Street, I think, where do we send our police cars to get washed? And I was told we send them to Lodi. Now, we have a business here in Garfield that could wash our cars. I don't know, whatever. But I would rather support a Garfield business than, I believe it's a Lodi business, maybe Hasbrook Heights. And we're taking time to send the cars there to get washed. Well, we have one in Garfield. Could you please ask who's ever in charge of that? I brought this up before. If just for the heck of it, I'd rather support the Garfield businesses. I'd like to give a big shout out to our United States women's soccer team. Now, was that great overall? Come on now. I mean, this was tremendous. I felt so proud when I seen those girls win. Forget about the politics baloney. These are USA girls who won the soccer World Cup. Fantastic. So I'd like to give them a big shout out. If we could pass a resolution, my daughter's saying make it quick. So,
Money disparity.
and the money is wrong, totally wrong. Totally wrong that the guy's getting $400 million, that is disgusting, and we should pass a resolution, send it over to whoever it be, the powers they be, that we here in the city of Garfield disagree with that. Quickly, Tom, it was mentioned about the sketchy property and the previous redevelopment authority. I believe that Sketchley agreed to 43 units. I might be off by a few, but it's 43 units at one time, and that the redevelopment authority voted it down for some reason or another. Can I be right with that? Is that?
There was a prior proposal for something like 57 townhouses. I am not certain what happened because I was not the director at the time, and there was a time period I was not attending redevelopment meetings.
So what I'm saying is that redevelopment project at Sketchy went on for 10 years for some reason or another. I have my own beliefs and own knowledge of why it did. But if you look at what we have there now, and all the people in that neighborhood were concerned about parking, were concerned about noise. If the redevelopment does happen on Passaic Street, parking is going to be addressed, everything will be addressed, and everybody is invited to attend all the meetings. And lastly, Mr. Calandrillo, what you just said to the mayor about when he spoke about being deaf, I never forget when you sat Tana Raymond on that corner and me next to Tana, and you said, well, at least Joe now gives Tana his deaf ear, because I am deaf in one ear. All right, so to say a comment like that,
Never said it, Joe.
Mr. Calandrillo, all right, I'll never forget that. And so to bring that up.
I didn't even know you have a deaf ear, Joe. I
But
didn't even
with-
know you have a deaf ear.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I'm definitely not here. But the thing is,
Shame
You
on
know,
you. Just let's
the
move on.
the
Let's
Fourth
move
of
on.
July
Let me
fireworks,
remove you on the
the fireworks were great. I was able to hear them good with my deaf ear, but the fact is,
Your lies.
this is what redevelopment does bring, Mayor. It does because, you know what? Before we had redevelopment, first thing we got rid of was fireworks, Easter egg hunt, Halloween parade, all the city functions, we got rid of. We didn't do them for years because we did not have the money in the budget to do it. So what I'm saying is now, because of redevelopment bringing in extra money, Tom, if you could, next meeting, let us know how much is Sketch Street property. Do you know offhand how much that property brings into the city? Something like that. That's why we are able to do the events that we do. With that, I hope everybody have a nice week. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Okay, I'm gonna try to be brief. Tana, I did meet, you said we should meet with the residents. I did meet with South Garfield, I think 4 or 5 times to discuss things going on. I also met with people from the first ward 4 or 5 times through the last year and a half about the redevelopment. And they both have polar opposite ideas of what they want to do on Passaic Street. So, you know, it's not like I didn't meet with them. I did meet with them. I met with Joan and Mike and Dennis and everything like that. You know, and we spoke. And it was cordial. It was nice. And I will continue to meet with them as long as they want to meet and discuss things. Because Passaic Street is an important aspect of Garfield. And we need to take care of it, and we need to move this on. James, you brought up prostitution and drugs. I'd like to know where and when this is happening, because it's important.
If you walk around Garfield.
Okay. You know, and I'm not saying it's not happening, but this is what I'm talking about. We need to clean up Garfield. There's certain sections of Garfield that is, you know, I hate to say it, it's not a great place to raise kids. And unfortunately, we need to clean up. We need to get rid of that. If that is happening, let's find out where. Please let us know. Mr. Dutch knows. He'll let the police know, and we'll make sure people know about it. You know, it's what it is. I know, Tana, I do believe that minimum is very low. We had a discussion as a council months back when there was a murder from an illegal apartment, and we said that we even looked into it to confiscating the house, doing something with the homeowner who there was a crime happening in an illegal apartment. The fine should be higher, and we were told, Bob, am I correct that there's just a state law or it's mandated that you can't do these things? So, you know, it's not like we're not looking into it, and we are looking into it. You know, that's another thing about quality of life. Prostitution, drugs, illegal apartments, these are the things that we need to get out of Garfield altogether. It's not a place that I want to raise my kids in. You know, when my kids walk around the block, there's certain blocks that they don't even want to go on, you know, because of their age. And, you know, it's a shame, because when I was young, and I know when everybody who sat up at this council, we all grew up in Garfield, we walked from Passaic Street to Lanza Ave, and there was never no issues. Now there's certain parts of our neighborhood that there's issues, and we're trying to clean it up, you know, but we just have a difference in how it's going to be done. And we just got to come to a conclusion, come to a compromise the best way possible to get Garfield the way, well, I don't want to say the way it is, because we need change. We're at a crossroads here. You know, we're sitting at the crossroads of how Garfield's going to be in the future. We're not going to be around in the next 30, I like to be around in the next 30, 40 years, but I want my kids to be here. And, you know, if you go to the left, well, you know what, maybe we're going to deteriorate, the buildings are going to get old, the neighborhoods, there's going to be certain, you know, parts of the neighborhood where you just don't want to be in, or maybe we go to the right and we turn it all around. There's nothing wrong with change. It seems like people are afraid of change, but there's nothing wrong with change at all. We need change. For Garfield to succeed in Bergen County, sitting on the border of Passaic County, we need to change. There needs to be some type of positive change. But it seems like everybody's fighting everybody over it. And unfortunately, you know, it's just slowing up progress. There needs to be certain types of changes. And, you know, I'm passionate about it. You may not be as passionate as I am, but I'm passionate about it. And I'm going to continue to fight for redevelopment in Garfield. And you know what? Win, lose, even if I decide to run next time, I'm gonna fight because you know why? If we take that left, I guarantee you I'll be like a lot of other residents. I'll move out with my family somewhere else. You know, that's just how it is. I got 6 young kids, all under the age of 13. And you know what? I want them to grow up in a town that they're proud to be in, just like everyone here sits in here and they're proud to be in this town. You know, so that's where we're at. We're at the crossroads, and we all have to come to a compromise where it's better for everybody to live in. This is a great community, a hard-working community. The word great has been thrown around numerous amount of times in the last month. And you know what? We have a lot of grit, a lot of resilience, and we need to continue that. So, you know, that's where I stand with the redevelopment. Mr. Dennistrand, I agree with you. There should be more police officers on bikes. We do have our community policing. They're on bikes and segways. And I just happened to see Mr. Devine on a bike/motorized bike that goes about 20 miles an hour. And I thought it was pretty cool. And that's maybe something we could look into to get, just in case our police officers aren't healthy enough to pedal, they get the motor going. But I think they are healthy because, they are. In regards to Cablevision, this just seems like it's something that's moving in the right direction. If you haven't been listening, Mr. Dutch has been looking into it, all right? He's not looking into it just because he's looking into it, just to please everybody. He's looking into it to find a solution. The problem here is now that, listen, we all want it. It's just a matter of, is it going to be run out of the high school, or are we going to get it back into here? They have SD, we have HD. I'm not the tech person, but from my understanding is for HD to go into an SD, it takes a long process. Who's going to be responsible for that process? With this old equipment, Mr. Dutch, our city manager, looked into it. Maybe get an upgrade on the equipment, tell Cablevision to upgrade the equipment. If this could all be possible, then it could be possible. But we're moving in the right direction of getting Cablevision. So, it's just simple as that. Basketball courts. Been an issue, basketball courts was removed, I guess, years ago before I got to sit on the city council, and Councilwoman Delaney, for whatever reason, they were removed. And the kids only had a basketball court at the high school. They took the nets down for some reason. I was told they took the nets down 7 months ago, so we had no kids playing basketball in the streets other than going to the rec center or the boys club. Now we're in the summer with the summer program going on. It's good for the little kids to play basketball inside, but outside we have a lot of middle schoolers and high school kids who don't go to camps, and they need something to do. So we're looking into getting basketball courts. Maybe in Columbus Fields. We're looking, Deputy Mayor called in some of his contacts, and maybe they're going to build, hopefully they'll build some basketball courts in Danners Lake by the police station. It's, again, it's something in the positive direction, that we're moving on there. We put it on the back burner when we first got on. It was mentioned to us, but, there were other priorities. We kind of put it on the back burner, but then, I received a bunch of phone calls. They told us about the basketball courts, and now it's time that we do. So, Tom, if you get a chance, just look into that with Kevin Boswell, and Joe, make sure we get that sit down with the county. It'd be pretty nice to get, the basketball courts and get these kids out there playing. They're my middle school kids, they're high school kids, and they deserve the right to have, to play basketball in the streets in Garfield instead of going to another neighboring town. And, it's important. I guess where we had basketball courts in Century Field, it was right next to our house. And, those tenants always complained about the noise late at night and, the cursing and everything like that. I think in Columbus Field, away from everybody by the train tracks, I think that may be a great spot, or by the police station where, it's by the police station. The 4th of July was a great event, and I think I was told, I don't know how they estimated, but there was over 4,500 people that attended. I want to thank the Garfield Rec Department, Chris O'Reilly, for, he worked hard to put this together along with our events committee, and it was great event. And, these are the events we like to continue. We take pride in the events that go on in Garfield. And nothing better than events that bring the community together. Mr. Denstrand, you were noticed out there doing that two-step, and you're light on your feet. Garfield is having their first annual restaurant week in the middle of August, August 18th to the 22nd. Right now, there's about 15 participating restaurants in Garfield. We're looking to get more. Some of the restaurants from Zola's to Goodfellas, they're all participating in. There'll be a fixed menu for that 1 week. It helps our local restaurants out during the dog days of summer. So that's something good. We're doing, the Garfield Events Committee is also doing something called Chalk for a Cure. They're going to recruit local artists around the county and maybe New Jersey, where they're going to raise funds and they're going to draw murals all along Century Field that figure 8, and the money raised will go to Hackensack Children's Hospital. So it's a great cause. It being chalk, and hopefully we get a good turnout. There'll be food trucks and other DJ there. It's a good event. We kind of stole this idea from Atlantic City and we kind of tweaked it where we're going to do a donation to the Children's Hospital. These are the events that bring our town together. These are the events that make people proud of Garfield. So when you got these things going on, and then you hear other negativity from garbage to crime and violence and things like that. That's and we know it happens in other towns, but for some reason it happens here a little more. We just got to clean it up a little, and we'll get there. We'll get there. Everything's a work in progress. With that, I wish everybody a great rest of the week and an enjoyable summer if I don't get to see you, and meeting adjourned. I'll make the motion.
Motion by Calandrillo, seconded by Aaron Delaney. All in favor?
Aye.
I hear 4 ayes, 1
Aye.
absent.
Aye, Drew, aye.